Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dungeon Fog once again. Before we begin this tutorial video, I just want to highlight two very important things. Number one is that yes, I am back. I needed to take a few weeks off to get myself re-energized and reinvigorated to do these videos for you guys. Not that I don't enjoy doing them by any stretch. However, I just needed time off because I was feeling overstressed, overworked. I didn't have enough time to really make good videos. My last video kind of left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth as well. So I'm definitely thinking about how I can make these videos more educational and more entertaining for you guys while still being informative. So that is where I have been taking care of that. Also, second, and probably more importantly, is the Dungeon Fog roadmap. Now, everybody should have gotten an email from the Dungeon Fog team. If not, then you can always request that you get that email sent to you. But what that entails is it provides a quarterly breakdown for the rest of the year, and it highlights what features that the Dungeon Fog team are going to be implementing, and more specifically, when they are going to be implementing them. So for today's tutorial, I would like to talk about two of these new features that have been implemented so far, at least since the start of February. So when we look over on our Tools tab over here, we can see that a new tool has popped up, this angry little looking demon head, and this is going to allow us to place tokens on the map. So when we click on the place token, this interface pops up. So as you can see, I've already preloaded an image here, which I will show you how to get to in a minute. But first and foremost, we're going to start with this generic elf, and we're going to call her Ilian. So we can name our tokens, and they will create a similar little bubble underneath. As you can see, this looks very similar to the room bubbles that pop up whenever we are naming and numbering our rooms. We can change the border to any kind of texture or color that we like. I'm going to have the border be grass. I'm going to change the background to dirt with rocks and gravel stone. So once you've decided what the border and background is going to look like, you can also change the size of the image as well. So my token right now is going to be a size 1, which means it's about approximately that size. But if I come over here, I can change it to a size 5. And you can see it appears much larger and takes up a lot more space. Now, this is particularly useful if you are implementing giant monsters and you want them to take up more space than what a typical NPC or smaller monster will take. We can use the same tools, like holding Shift to rotate the image of the token. We can also press and hold Control to change its size dynamically on the editor without having to be worried about how it looks over here and manually inputting it. Like assets, we can mirror the horizontal and vertical orientations. We can place the tokens above walls, give them shadows, and conceal them. Now, the conceal option is going to be more useful if you are wanting monsters to appear in a room, but don't want your players to see them when they walk into the room. So much like we can hide or reveal pieces of information and objects under the GM notes in a tutorial that we did a few weeks ago, so too can we do the same thing with tokens. So what this means is that if I place a token down like so, before placing it down, I can choose to conceal it, which means as the editor and creator of this map, I'm going to be able to see where this creature is. But as you can see, it's still a little bit faded out. I know where it is, but if I choose to hide this, especially when I export a map, then this will not appear as part of my map layout. I can choose to hide that as part of my GM notes as well. Another new feature that got implemented as part of the new rollout for this quarter was the Snap to Grid feature. Now, by default, assets and tokens will snap to grid. So if we decided to hold Shift, we could then remove that option manually, or we could force remove that snap to grid, giving us free reign of our assets. Now, this is going to help you make asset placement a lot faster if you're doing things like I have laid out here, where you want tables and chairs to be very specifically oriented. But if you prefer to freehand all of your asset and token placement, then you can deselect or select the snap to grid as you so choose. Say I didn't want to use this female elf token anymore. I will take her off concealed. So now I can see her again. So if you select image here, you can see that I've already selected a few tokens that I can start playing around with. As always, as the same thing with assets, you can choose to upload your own if you want through the Add Files tool in the asset library. But let's say I want to import a new token to play around with and start placing on my map. Well, I click on the Go to Asset Library shortcut here. It's going to bring up this box, and a new tab up here right beside Textures appears, and it is called Tokens. Much like we were searching for assets, we can either search by a subtype or by all of them, selecting the monsters that you want to implement on your map, or any type of players and NPCs that you want to utilize for your maps and your campaigns. One important note, should you select on tokens and it brings you over to this prop section, these will not load up with tokens. All right, so you will not be able to use props as tokens. You have to use specific token images. And you can actually see that the art style is much different than the assets are. So again, make sure that if it does not default you to tokens, that you will have to manually go there and select the tokens that you want to use and the portraits you want to implement in your maps. And as always, we can change the rotation and the color of these tokens as well. We can change the color of the background and borders as well if we so choose. Treat them a lot like objects. It's probably the easiest thing to do for now. As always, if you do have any questions or comments for me on this or any of my videos, do not hesitate to let me know. And again, reach out to me on the Discord server if you have any specific questions for me, if you want me to show you something specific that maybe we've covered in a previous tutorial you need a refresher on, or just any thoughts or comments in general. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Thank you very much for your patience, and I will see you all in the next video.